What's up, Story Dude crew? It's yours truly, Story Dude. Right now, I'm about to get into that story of Nussie. So let me just give y'all a little. Yeah, it was this dude down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Guess who's from there, by the way? Right, named Nussie. He was like a street dude, boy, whatever you want to call it, you know? But I think this is where my research get foggy. I think him and Youngboy from the top of Baton Rouge, and that's like his own shit than the bottom. That's why you got BBG in them. Anyway, I think they both is from the top, and that's why Youngboy got the influence from Nussie. So, or inspiration of Nussie. Yeah. It took us a minute to get here, but now that we here, like the video. P.O. told me to piss in, I shit it in the cup, Nussie. I'm gonna keep saying it the whole video. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't not gonna lie. Anyway, let's go and get into it. It's a longer one, so watch me all the way to the end.
YouTube family, what's the deal? It's your boy Crispy Clean Cliff of Cliff World TV, man, and y'all already know how I'm rocking, man.
I think Cliff World he from like the south of America. Like he really tapped into some shit. Like he be knowing, you know. Cliff World, I've been watching Cliff World shit for a minute. Yeah, he really tapped in. I can't say the region though. I think it's south, not the region, but the like state. I think it's the South though. Shout out to Cliff World TV, man. He provide good documentaries with good information. This is the research. Researching Nussie. I'm sorry, I still got the same little syndrome shit. I think it's autism.
You gotta know this now. Today, we finna take an interesting deep dive on the legendary, the lore, the all-around lifestyle of Baton Rouge's own Nussie. Yeah, we finna take a deep dive look into that Louisiana boy Christopher Jackson, aka Nussie, man, from one of the roughest cities in America, Baton Rouge. So y'all know what y'all can do, man. Sit back, get your doobie, kick back like we finna watch a movie, man. It's boy Crispy Clean Cliff Dog with Cliff World TV. We finna go ahead and get straight into it. Christopher Jackson. Or shall we call him by the name that we all know him for?
Look how this nigga's dressed. Chat, what's this? Just look how this nigga dressed, chat. Just look how he dressed, chat. This is a different time. I want to say 04. Lil Jon and the Eastside Boys was definitely popping around this time. You know, man, he did have the Barty Harris on though. Oh, my bad, not a blood, Cardi Harris. My bad to all my bloods out there. Do not want a DP. I'm good. Anyway. Yeah.
Nussie was born in one of the roughest cities in America, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He'd actually grew up in the same neighborhood as Boosie's father, Rabbit, Easy Town. Now, I know a lot of my new viewers may not have heard of Nussie, but by the end of this story, you'll know him very well. For some Baton Rouge residents, Nussie was the king of the BR. And in the words of Nussie himself, he was just a real ninja trying to convince the world that he was a rapper. Growing up in Easy Town was no easy walk in the park. Nussie would actually be introduced to the black market drug dealings at a very young age. And in fact, it would be his own father who would actually teach young Chris how to use a pocket scale and measurements for merchandise. See, growing up in...
I ain't gonna lie though. Here's just me keeping it hot. Would you rather him learn from his pops? Or would you rather him learn from Joe Smo off the block that's going to be doing wrong by them? Like, you know? Or could be doing wrong. Sometimes niggas do right by people. But who would you rather be the teacher? The streets or the pops? Me personally, I would rather the pops. Calling me? at a time like this is crazy. The PO told me to piss and I shit it in a cup. Nussie. They hung right up after that. This is obviously the wrong person.
Baton Rouge, it wasn't too taboo to see a nephew serving his uncle or even aunties. Now, although Nussie repped for Easy Town to the fullest, it was only because his pops was from Easy Town. Nussie, like fellow Louisiana artist Torrance Boosie Hatch, was originally from South Baton Rouge. Now, at the age of 16, Nussie would succumb to his environmental circumstances, and he had ultimately decided to jump up off that porch. And this is when he would make friends with an older guy who had just came home from war, a guy by the name of Axton Jackson. See, I can already tell by his name that this finna be trouble, man. But anyways,
boy, don't fuck with Axton Jackson. Don't fuck with him. Boy, he ready to lay it all on the line. He been to war. He came back from Vietnam. Shooting shit. Don't mess with Axton Jackson. He one of them. He a lunatic. He's a lunatic. Stay far away. Nussie. Yo, Snore from Montgomery, Alabama. Been fucking with your videos for a couple years now. Can you react to my partner song? Yep, put name and title in the chat. He's wasting our time. I don't like that, bro. I told you to drop your partner in them shit in the chat, bro. Niggas ain't say not a word. And I know you seen it by now, cause my shit on low latency. So my shit be quick. My shit be quick. Banny, that's to feel good about myself.
Axton Jackson was originally from New Orleans, and he was home from the military on a dishonorable discharge. And
I told you, Axton Jackson was lunatic. Dishonorably discharged. Let's read what's the... What can get you dishonorably discharged from the Army? Felony crimes, such as murder, manslaughter, seriously fraud, can get you dishonorably discharged. Offenses like desertion, leaving post without permission, espionage are considered severe misconducts. Sexual assault. Okay. I'm gonna go with serious misconduct. Other things is kind of a little wild.
And the circumstances as to why he was kicked out of the military are unknown. However, after returning back home to Baton Rouge, he'd get loaded off that gun smoke like Rambo, and he'd do some recruiting of his own. And little old Nussie was a perfect candidate. Yeah, he seen it in that boy. See, Axton Jackson was a professional dough kicker. Yeah, he professionalized in the art of kicking the dough out the frame of a trap house.
What I say about 17, he was introduced to another guy who had just came home from the war. He was a dope kicker. He was already a hustler, but when he met action, he became that street guy then. And he jacked some big timers. Like he wasn't scary. He jacked you, went in your house bare face, no ski mask. Yeah.
That's that Nussie? Golly. That nigga bare face. The big dope boys too. I ain't gonna lie, hey, to each his own, brother. I cannot condone that one. For real. At least put on a little skeezy. A little skeezy. Where my little skeezy at? Boy, you lucky I can't find it, because I would have came up ever so swiftly with... Yeah. Anyway, That boy Nussie a wild boy. He a wild boy. It don't get no crazier than that though. That's like playing with your life, cause niggas got good memory. Don't think these niggas be getting high and losing memory. Nah, them niggas got good memory. Oh, that's the, especially something traumatic. You robbed me? Yeah, I'm gonna remember you for life. I'm gonna remember every detail. What you had on. What your breath smell like, nigga. If they even smelt your breath. Like, I'm gonna remember everything. Trust. I may seem like I ain't got it, but something like that, I'm remembering. This nigga bareface in the trap. Like, give me all of that. You know what time it is. I don't know why that's that favorite bar. You know what time it is. No, I actually don't, nigga. Tell me the time. Tell me the time.
Well, one day, Axton Jackson would get full of that boy, you heard me? And he'd tell Lil Chris, hey, you want to go on a kick though? And ultimately, he'd take Lil Chris on his first home invasion that turned out to be both successful and lucrative. But unbeknown to Axton Jackson, he had created a monster. One that names will ring bells from years and years to come, off in Baton Rouge. Now, Nussie was known to do his fair share of hustling. And in fact, he would be the only drink plug and prescription plug in South Baton Rouge. Matter of fact, of all of Baton Rouge at that time. And he had little steppers underneath him too, like Ray Vicks, Kevin Gates, and he even had some cool homegirls on his side like Dana. Nussie was primarily known for getting over on those who were not street smart.
And see, man, this nigga's, it's coming out. This nigga is like a bad character, man. This nigga kick dope bareface. He getting over on niggas that's a street illiterate. It's a such street illiterate. Anyway, he getting over on niggas that's street illiterate. He ain't showing no love, ain't sparing nothing. This that P.O. told me to piss it and I shit it in a cup. Nothing. That's that right there, yeah. That was loud. Okay.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
73%. Are you serious? Subscribe to the channel. Back to the program. Say that again. Nussie was primarily known for getting over on those who was not street smart. A lot of people like to run with the narrative that Nussie was a snake, but honestly, there's no rules in this street game, man. When you jump off for it, everything goes. All hoes bars. Ain't no rules in this, man. So it goes without saying that even if you...
They are not lying. There really ain't no rules in this street stuff, but look though. Right is right, wrong is wrong, gang. I know niggas ain't trying to hear that, but when you live right, you gonna be right. Like blessings gonna fall your way so amazingly. You know?
Was a close relative and you wasn't paying attention. For instance, there was a situation where Nussie had bought a 9-piece from his connect and the dealings would go good as planned, only for the dealer to later find out that he had been swindled with counterfeit money. So you had to stay on your toes when you was dealing with Nussie. Now, Nussie at the tender age of 17 years old, actually he was 16, about to be 17 years old, would drop out of McKinney High School and be a full-time student of the streets of Baton Rouge, you heard me? Nussie was the only person in Baton Rouge to have prescriptions in abundance, like I told y'all. Yeah, when it came down to anything pharmaceutical, he had it, from drinks to perks to drugs. So it was in...
Man, that nigga had the perks. He had it going. Perks wasn't even in though. Like, that was in, like, perks was an acquired taste back in those days. It was an acquired taste. Niggas was getting loaded off E-pills. And these days, E-pills. If you had the X pills, you was him. You had the triple stack blue dolphin, motherfucker. Yeah. To all my druggies out there, you niggas be knowing. Hey, on Twitch, we discovered we got a druggy chat a little bit. Like, we sat here and talked about drugs for a good 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I didn't figured out half the chat be on drugs, hard drugs. But not like the hard drugs, but like hard drugs. Like, anyway, he probably had the E pills on deck too. They call them jiggers down there. 30 days straight, I was rolling out the beat. I ain't seen nothing as such 30 days straight off one.
Inevitable that if you had a prescription habit, that you had to come to Easy Town and see that boy Nussie, man. Yeah, now, Nussie was also known for being a paper chaser, but after linking up with Axton Jackson, all that did was turn him up into a savage. Nussie, unlike other traditional jack boys, didn't even bother to wear a mask on the licks that he'll go hit. He'll run up in them spots barefaced, make them lay it down. And he done this on his own on multiple different occasions. Nussie was really outside like that. And it wasn't like they was robbing little small peewees either, nah, man. They was robbing big fish and little fish all the same. But Nussie would make sure that he would always break bread with the people around him. But befriending Nussie could be dangerous because at any moment, if his pockets were low, he'd make up any reason to rob his own people. And if he sensed fear,
This nigga gonna find a reason to rob his own people. Oh, Lord. Oh, jeez. This nigga ain't right, B. This nigga's not right. Oh. You know what? I don't like the way that nigga looked at me today. Robbed. That nigga went and bought a new chain. Robbed. Yeah, I heard he hit a sweet lick. Robbed. I think he was looking at my bitch. Robbed. This nigga's not he's a terrible guy, man. Terrible guy. They showing the wrong side of Nussie, man. I thought he was a cool dude, man. This nigga robbed.
you, then you was good enough gone. In fact, YouTube family, Nussie had a famous dope dealer pops, man. There was a kingpin out in Baton Rouge in Easy Town named Poochie. Now, he had been going in on packs with his father, man, only to find out that Poochie was getting over on him. Poochie was taking Nussie's half of the money, and instead of buying 2 keys, he'd actually cop 4 keys, and he'd give Nussie 1, leaving him with 3. And this had been going on for a while before Nussie would actually catch on to his own father swindling him. Well, one day, while Poochie was away from the trap, probably hitting the...
Oh, it seems like the apple don't fall it seems like the apple don't fall far from the tree. The dad a swindler, Nussie a swindler, golly. And it's like, how can you do that to your own son? Robbed!
play, Nussie would slip through the windows like Swiper, you heard me? And he would eventually get inside the residence and swipe 2 kilos of the Peruvian booger sugar and disappear like a thief in the night. Yeah, for sure, like a thief in the night. And all you can see in that nighttime glow was them gold teeth as he grinned and got away with those 2 kilos. There was even an instance that Nussie would go on track and rap about when he had sold somebody 10 pounds of hay, man. He was out here not playing. If you wasn't...
Oh, God. He would have to see me. 10 pieces of hay? It couldn't have been no bad weed. You had to hit niggas with the hay. You couldn't hit the flim flam, half of it good weed, half of it trash weed, like nigga, you this nigga's, bruh, 10 pounds of hay. Hay don't even look like weed. It could have been 10 pounds of oregano. Sage or something. It could have been 10 pounds of parsley, nigga. Some parsley. 10 pounds of hay. We can't even smoke this shit. Whoop-de-doo. Ain't no whoop-de-doo about it, gang. 10 pounds of hay? And you talking about whoop-de-doo. You crazy. How much y'all think he got off them niggas? 10 pounds of hay of old backyard weed? That's like a $500 pound back then. Or a $700 pound. So he probably got 7 bands off that one lick. 7 bands in 06 money? That's a whole new drop. With the rims. Yo.
On your P's and Q's, he was gonna get you. He was finessed 2 times before finessed 2 times was finessed 2 times, because he'll finesse you 4 times. Nussie would make a name for himself in Baton Rouge, one that'll still precede him today. Nussie's father, Poochie, was also from the same neighborhood as TBG Ivy Smith. Before we go any further, I want everybody to subscribe to Timothy Evans' YouTube channel, man. He got some old footage of Ivy. Man, he got some legendary footage, so subscribe to Timothy Evans. And while y'all edit Rare Reports, I know I'm gonna mention that more than once in this video, but y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Rare Reports. I think earlier on in this segment that I said Ivy was from Easy Town. If that was the case, I meant to say he was from South Baton Rouge. Ivy also had an older brother that was known for hustling and a force to be reckoned with by the name of Bucky. He was an OG in Baton Rouge, and he represented the top of the South Side. And I mentioned Bucky because his brother was murdered by another South Side OG that repped the bottom of that South Side, and his name was Hammer. And he was a member of a street gang named the South Side Wrecking Crew. And this just goes to show you that the one.
I like how you put the pictures of the guys. It give you a better imagery of the story. Hell yeah.
In Baton Rouge, between the top and the bottom of the South Side, was already aflame long before NBA Youngboy and Fredo Bang, or even Nussie and Boosie. Nevertheless, Bucky and Hammer would be role models for the new Baton Rouge gangsters that had just jumped off the porch, like Lil Ivy and his partner Finn, a younger cat that he took underneath his wing like a little brother, Finn. But there was also a guy by the name of Pig that would be the same Pig that rode with Nussie and his crew. Now, it's said that although they didn't really have any real issues, every time Pig and Nussie was in the same room with Ivy in attendance, or anytime you seen Pig and Ivy in attendance under the same roof together, there will always be tension in the air. You know what I mean? You could just feel it, you feel me? It's just the aroma. When you walk into a spot, you can smell that the tension is really thick up in there. You feel me? Now, Ivy would quickly go from being the guy who made about $10,000 a week to the guy who was basically controlling the market on the Peruvian Booger Sugar. He basically stuck to the code of his brother Bucky. In fact, Ivy would also immortalize Bucky by putting him in one of his songs. Now, they got a song with Lil Ivy entitled Gangster, and it's a street classic, and it sits on YouTube right now to this very day at 1.3 million views. And in that line, he said his sick ways was handed down from Bucky, nigga. You're still alive to hear this song, do you lucky, nigga? So Bucky was Ivy's older brother. As a matter of fact, YouTube family, y'all make sure y'all go over there to YouTube when you click off of this. And I know y'all know, man. Y'all know every time I do somebody Louisiana person, I just adopt the accent. I can't help it, bro. But y'all make sure y'all go after this and listen to that song by Lil Ivy, man. Called Gangster. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Ivy was snapping. But anyway, back to the story, man. Yeah, man, Baton Rouge, as I stated before, is a very small city in comparison to other major cities that are the state capital, because as we all know, Baton Rouge is the state capital of Louisiana, man. And you have to factor in the notion that there's only a small percentage of the population that is actually black. And with that being said, they're pushed into concentrated neighborhoods in the city. So earlier on, although Ivy was a part of a completely separate crew, he and Pig/Nussie's crew more than likely started scoring from the same connect. Now, apparently, Pig saw this as competition, and I'm pretty sure Ivy felt the same way. Well, one day, Ivy would take it upon himself to rob a local drug dealer, you heard me? And to no one's surprise at all, you two family, a gun.
Boy, the streets of BR cold as hell. Cold as ice. Cold as ice. It's cold as ice. Niggas are getting robbed left and right, B. Left and right. I don't know what's going on, but I know it's going on. Okay, B? Okay.
Gunfight pursued, ended with Lil Ivy being shot, but he would ultimately get away with all of the earnings like a pirate. Now, Lil Ivy would wear a colostomy bag after this situation. Well, of course, if you show up to the hospital with gunshot wounds that severe that you need a colostomy bag, then it's inevitable that law enforcement will get involved, and that's exactly what happened. So for the next 4 years, Ivy spent his time behind bars. Now, sometime after him being released, Ivy would attend a club. As a matter of fact, it was Vibes nightclub in Baton Rouge, and also attendance was Nussie and TBG members and Pig. Now, apparently words were exchanged, and this would lead to the two to get into a brawl, in which case TBG got crowded out. Now, Pig would take this extremely personal, and he'd hold on to this grudge until they met again. Well, needless to say, they will meet again at a club named Shenanigans, and we're going to talk about that later. But remember the guy Lil Finn that I told y'all in the beginning. Remember, Lil Finn is Ivy's little partner. He looked after him like a little brother. Lil Finn and Pig are cousins. Just remember that. Now, as stated before, Nussie and Ivy in the beginning were quite close, and they even attended McKinney High School together. The division all started when rapper Torrance Boosie Hat started seeing success with Trill ENT, and some would even say that Ivy was next up, while others would say Boosie was deliberately blocking Ivy from signing to Trill Entertainment. And speculators would say the reason behind that being is that Ivy would have outshined Boosie had that came to fruition. See, Ivy Smith was already a neighbor.
I guess that's what the streets was feeling at the time. Me personally, we discussed he had some songs out. Well, Cliff World said he had some songs out. Let's go look for him. Fuck it.
A Mac, a little pocket monster. Looking for some bitch niggas.
And I'm gonna say this, bro. Boosie in the black community, Boosie was like that. That's why he was able to get out of jail and go do so many shows. To the black community, Boosie was that. To the hood community, that do a lot of hood stuff. So going to clubs. That's why Boosie able to go to clubs and still perform the same songs. Niggas, that one album that he dropped was Set It Off in them. That motherfucker went diamond in the streets. It just went platinum, but it went diamond in the streets. Everybody and their mama had that in their car. Bootlegging it.
Neighborhood superstar. He was a well-known hustler, and he was also the founder of TBG. Yeah, the record label that would later go on to be responsible for giving the birth and signing G Money, Fredo Bang, and believe it or not, in the earlier days, NBA Youngboy was also TBG. Now, you have older people in Baton Rouge to say, Ivy's TBG and this TBG, it may be the same, but it's not exactly the same. Now, Ivy had respect in Baton Rouge, to say the least. Well, Baton Rouge, as small as it is, it's inevitable that you'll run across a girl that's been with your main dog, your partner. Well, after Nussie and Ivy stopped hanging out, and becoming everyday friends, Nussie would begin to have an intimate relationship with Ivy's baby mama. Now, word around Baton Rouge is that she was absolutely in love with Nussie, and she didn't want to hide it from the world. Well, one day, Nussie and his entourage would attend the club Shenanigans in South Baton Rouge, when everything would go left. Now, this ironically would be the same day as Ivy's birthday celebration, and he too, as well as TBG, was in attendance for such birthday party, man. Now, one thing will lead to another, and a complete melee would kick off. Now, it's speculated that this fight happened over Ivy's baby mama, because up until that point, there was no issues between Ivy and Nussie. But Ivy's baby mama, while all eyes were on her, she would proceed to sashay her way across the dance floor of Shenanigans in South Baton Rouge, and she'd get right up underneath Nussie, man, and she'd embrace him in a way that's only possible between two people with soul ties. Yeah, Nussie had been beating that out the frame for a few months. And
I ain't gonna lie. They fell out over a chick. This is crazy. Niggas be too gangsta to be falling out over chicks, man.
Even spending the night waking up eating the kids' fruit snacks in the kitchen like Melvin. Now, this disrespect was not going to be tolerated by Ivy or his entourage. To say the least, Ivy was player, but they took this as a direct sign of disrespect. Now, it's speculated that Nussie had a friend named Marquis in attendance that was making the matter even worse by amplifying it by taunting Ivy's side of the fence. Now, prior to this argument and the melee breaking out, Lil Ivy would run outside and meet up with Torrance Lil Boosie Hatch, and Boosie would also give Ivy a pint of lean for his birthday. Now, it's speculated that Boosie and Ivy wasn't seeing eye to eye at the time, and they had just had a big argument, and Boosie was outside waiting for Ivy so Ivy can get this pint of lean and they can talk about their problems. Well, later on, Boosie would pull off and Ivy would go back into the club, and this is when the melee would pursue. Now, during the initial scuffle, in attempts to get a handle over the situation, Club Shenanigans security would start to push people outside of the club. And amongst those that were pushed outside of the club were Nussie. Now, Nussie's men, although they were deep and held their own, they were outnumbered, man. That whole club was full of them South Baton Rouge thugs, man. And all Nussie could do was wait outside until the smoke cleared to see if everyone was okay.
Right.
Now, Ivy and his entourage would flee outside of Club Shenanigans, and they would run back to their parked vehicles while a voice in the distant background was heard yelling, "I'ma kill you." Well, sure as poop stinks, gunfire would pursue, and Lil Ivy would be left dead on the scene in his car from a leg shot. Rapper Lil Boo.
Bruh, he was only 25, gang. This happened in 05. This happened in 05. I remember 05. Yeah, Unk in the building. Anyway, man, and dude was just only 25. That's the craziest part. Like, these niggas young still, for real.
Boosie would immortalize Lil Ivy by mentioning this incident in a song called Pain on a mixtape of him and Hurricane Chris's that released in 2009 called Category 7. Well, word would get back to Boosie that Nussie was the one that had murdered his friend in cold blood in front of Shenanigans. And this is where the story gets interesting. Now, I think it's important to mention that Ivy wasn't the only one who got deceased that night. In fact, Ivy and 3 of his friends will all fall victim in front of Club Shenanigans that night of the shootout, man. So people that were on the scene would also say that the car that they were sitting in literally got Swiss cheesed up, meaning that there were so many gunshot holes inside of that car that it was only like something that you can see on a movie, man. It really, really got scorched and hot in Baton Rouge after this incident, to say the least. Now, it's said that Nussie would actually have his friend Pig complete the murder. Now, this is all up for speculation, but Nussie had a song that Kevin Gates famously quoted on his song, Not the Only One. And the lines in this song would be, "I killed that nigga for my dog and now he owed me one." Now, This song would get around South Baton Rouge and it would be seen as complete disrespect to the people of South Baton Rouge. In fact, they thought that Nussie was taunting them. Now, Dana, Nussie's very close friend Dana, would confirm to say that Nussie didn't have anything to do with what happened to Lil Ivy. But instead of Nussie making everything clear and clearing everything up, he kind of embraced the negative clout that he was receiving from such incident. This would be a move that would prove to be fatal later on down the line. Now to speak on Nussie's character again, once again, Nussie has a good friend named Dana, and Dana had a friend that was on big time dope dealer in Baton Rouge. Be a move. And the only person that his friend can come up with was Big London. Now, when he proposed the idea to Nussie, Nussie immediately turned the idea down, saying, "No, we can't ride Big Boy. That's Dana homeboy." See, Nussie wasn't just a snake like everybody try to run with that narrative. He wasn't a snake, man. He was a product of his environment. So I just had to say that just to speak a little bit more on his character, but we're gonna speak about what happened after Ivy got killed. Now, after and before the death of Lil Ivy, Nussie himself was avidly pursuing a career in the music industry. Now, y'all gotta keep in mind, these were the days of hustling your hard copy CDs out of the back of your trunk. And if you were all the way independent, that meant you also had to put together your own street team as well as finding your own vendors to print up flyers and posters. Well, Nussie was very much so an independent artist and had 100% hands-on policy with all of the things that I had mentioned previously. He practically acted as the manager, the promoter, and as well as the entertainer. After the passing of Ivy, Nussie became the bad guy of South Baton Rouge. And despite him not actually being the trigger man that took the life of Ivy Smith, Nussie would parade around Baton Rouge as regular without a care, not even bothering to deny such accusations or anything. Now, this brought about much speculation from the loved one.
The thought brought him some clout, and I think that's what he was intrigued by. That thought that he even, I have his name rep to that, brought him some clout for real. So I ain't gonna lie, clout been a dangerous drug for a long time, bro.
Ivy and Boosie's camp. Furthermore, it indicated that he had some sort of involvement, and not only that, he was still being seen publicly with Ivy's baby mama, man, just to make matters even worse. Now, there was a lot of gossip going on in Baton Rouge at the time between the camps of Nussie and the camps of Ivy and the camps of Boosie. Now, apparently, allegedly, the tale in Baton Rouge is that Boosie had a whole lot of remarks to say about Nussie, and then Nussie took matters into his own hands, you understand me, and he started to taunt Lil Boosie. Nussie would deliberately mock Lil Boosie by naming his next project Nussie Badass, a play off of Boosie's name, Boosie Badass. Well, one day, Nussie would get a phone call that rapper Lil Boosie was riding through that bottom, you heard me, and snatching down Nussie posters that was meant for promoting his music. It was also said that Boosie would declare that if he heard anybody in the bottom that was listening to Nussie, it was gonna be some problems.
Man.
Now, there was another incident where Nussie was leaving from Mexico on vacation in the airport, and he'd get a phone call that Boosie was also in the same airport, but unknowingly to Boosie, there was someone on the plane with him that recognized him, and he'd immediately alert Nussie of Boosie's arrival. And all the rest, I'll let Nussie tell.
You know, so now I'm getting radio play. I'm in the clubs, my CDs selling off the shelf. You know what I'm saying? I done been through a lot with the music, you know, and people, I'm actually making money off rap where I can really pay my bills now. So things like that let me know I'm doing my job, you know. But as for the Boosie incident, the so-called beef,
He must have sold a lot of CDs, gang.
man, let Boosie, I ain't got no beef with Boosie because I talked to him. I talked to him maybe 4.5, 5 months ago at the airport. I flew in from Mexico. I got a call that he was getting off the airplane. He was on his way to Baton Rouge because I knew somebody on the plane. I said, damn, this is the perfect time I can go catch the little nigga while he by himself.
Right.
Where ain't no entourage, just me and you. You know?
Right.
Now, he wasn't acting like no pussy or nothing. You know, he stood up like a man. He talked to me. He told me that he ain't never crossed me. He ain't had nothing against me. He told me to look up to me in the streets. And I told him, well, my feelings were hurt because nigga told me, you yanked my sign down, which was petty, but it was big to me because I feel like we know each other and I just talked to you. And for you to do that, it's like you shitting on my dream, bro. You know? So, he told me he didn't do it. I told him, well, shit, ain't no beef, you know, just like I say, when I say things about people on songs, people gonna blow it up because they think it's gonna be, you know, but just don't know I'm entertaining my listeners, and I talk about anybody, you know. I could be with my boy, ain't one him. So make a long story short, people done caught on to it, ain't nobody really tripping. No, it ain't nothing personal, you know.
Now,
like
although Nussie didn't die,
Man, out of his mouth, it sounded like it really wasn't no issue, but you know how the streets play it. You know, they can tell you one thing and do another, you know, flamming like that, though. But, you know, it could have been anything, man. It's crazy.
directly pulled the trigger with Lil Ivy. This is where the details would start to get murky. Apparently, unknowingly to Nussie, his clock was ticking, and the situation involving Ivy's death was far from being settled. Word got around town that Nussie indeed had his hands in the murder of Ivy Smith. Whether he was the trigger man or not, they was gonna hold him just as accountable. Well, as it turns out, YouTube family, a guy by the name of Pig, one of Nussie's very close friends, was actually responsible for the Chicago-style massacre on Ivy's birthday, the day that it took Ivy's life.
Man.
Well, once the right people got a hold of this information, Pig being a trigger man, not even God can stop what was coming next. In fact, YouTube family, shout out to Rare Reports on YouTube. That's Rare Reports on YouTube. I'm gonna say it again. Rare Reports on YouTube, man. They got interesting stories from all of Louisiana, man, all over. Y'all go like, comment, subscribe, tell them I sent you over there. That's Rare Reports on YouTube. But I'm saying that to say this, man. I'm about to take out an insert from one of Nussie's very close friend, Dana's interviews that she did with Rare Reports on YouTube. Y'all go subscribe to Rare Reports right now. So we're going to take an insert from Nussie's friend, Dana, and we're going to play out, and she going to describe to y'all what happened to Pig.
Little Pig. Mm-hmm. What about him at the time? His character, who was he?
Oh, Pig was a stand-up guy. Pig and Nussie was friends. And the people kept saying the dissing was coming from when Nussie did start rapping. He say, I killed that for my partner, now he owed me one. Now everybody showing about I'm troublesome. You know, his rhymes didn't clear stuff up. As it went on, time was told that it was actually Pig who you know, killed Lil Ivy. Pig had already gotten killed. See, we didn't cover that. Pig got killed. Pig got killed in 2008, him and his mama.
Man.
Yeah. They tortured both of them. Well, tortured mama to get him to come there.
They kidnapped her?
No, they got her in her house.
Okay.
They didn't kidnap her, but they hog-tied her.
Boy, the streets wicked.
They tortured her to give up her son.
And she called
him in distress. And he get there, and when as soon as he pulled up, they shot him. His foot was hanging out the car.
That's how they found him.
Yeah, car still running.
How did
What is wild, chat?
Pig Dell, he took it hard. He took it hard, but he knew it was a part of the game.
Yeah, man, they get real in that Rouge, and I forgot to expound on the relationship between Nussie, Pig, and Big Marquis. So, man, Nussie had some real head busters for friends, bro. He was a head buster himself, but he had some real head busters around him. And like I say earlier, Ivy and Nussie was cool.
What going on?
It used to be Ivy, Nussie, Pig, and Marquis hanging out with each other, but you would never actually see Ivy with Nussie like an everyday guy. But his everyday guys was Pig and Big Marquis, man. So Big Dana just let y'all know what happened with Pig. And I'm gonna give y'all a little backdrop on what happened with Big Marquis because he also comes up in the story again as well. Yeah, man, again, Big Marquis will come up. They will be at a club again. Now, this was after the death of Lil Ivy and the death of Pig. And you know, Ivy was Boosie's mans and Pig was Big Marquis and Nussie's people. Well, as the story goes, Big Marquis was in the club and Boosie and his entourage in the club. Big Marquis had TBG with him and they still had it on their mind. Now, this was during the time that the rumors were still flaring up that Nussie possibly had something to do with Ivy's demise. And man, there was a lot of tension in that club that night. Now, this is a story that's been told all over like a hood lore for a long time, but nobody actually confirmed it. But Dana confirmed it.
Let's hear
Big
the hood
Marquis
lore.
felt the heat coming from Boosie, and he walked straight up on Boosie and knocked him out. Now, the rumor said that Boosie got his teeth knocked out, but really he just got the grill knocked out his mouth. But nevertheless, the rumors are indeed true. Big Marquis, a member of Nussie's entourage, walked up on Boosie badass in the middle of everybody and knocked him out. Now, before this incident, Baton Rouge would never have a rap beef at all. The first people that was rap beefing in Baton Rouge was Nussie and Boosie, and you really couldn't really call it much so as a rap feud like today. Now, Nussie did mention, he did have a line where he said something like a hatchback, and it kind of, you know, Boosie's last name is Hatch. But honestly, Nussie had a problem with one member of Boosie's entourage, which is Hatch Boy. So he wasn't technically talking to Boosie, but he was talking to somebody out of his entourage. Now, before this, the music scene in Baton Rouge wasn't as divided as it is today. And as a matter of fact, you can still feel remnants from that war and that field in Baton Rouge in that era today. As y'all all know, maybe y'all don't know, Ivy has a son named Lil Ivy that came out and he tried to do an expose on Boosie. I might want to go check that out, man. Yeah, it had escalated from that rap beef to some real street stuff. And to be real with y'all YouTube family, it was already on the super duper street level, man. Of course, everybody knew he had something to do with Ivy getting knocked off. And it wasn't a tit for tat game. Yeah, Pig got, you feel me? But you got to remember, it was 4 people in the car when Ivy died. All 4 people died, man. All 4. So there was still plenty animosity in the air. So when Boosie got knocked out in the club by Big Marquis, he set it off, man. And to make matters even worse, man, Big Marquis had a song that was a certified hood banger that basically was just detailing how he was a head buster and how he just knock a rapper tooth out, man. Yeah, the name of the song was 2 Piece, man. And the song is about how he just gave a rapper a 2 piece and a biscuit. And that rapper was Torrance Boosie Hatch, man. Yeah, Big Marquis hit that nigga Boosie with a spicy 2-piece breasted wing biscuit, a potato yam, and some butter rolls.
I know Boosie ain't gonna like this part of the story. That's crazy though, you know. A nigga with a such tough figure, you know, he just had to get a hold of him. You know. That nigga said he knocked his grill out and everything. This is crazy. And this is my first time hearing a story even of the sorts for Boosie. I ain't never heard a story like this about Boosie.
Said they had Boosie looking like Martin when he got beat up by Thomas the Hitman Hearn. And I know, niggas can't take no L. YouTube family, let me tell y'all something out there. If it's a lot of people watching, don't even knock them out. You got to do it in the backyard because these days ain't nobody taking no L, man. This move would prove to be very, very fatal for Big Marquis, allegedly. But he really died in real life, but allegedly it was about playing with Boosie. Allegedly, but y'all know the truth. Now, Boosie would have a song called Mr. Untouchable, in which case he will speak on an incident with Mr. Toothpiece, because as we all know by now, Big Marquis is dead. And it was always speculation as to the reason being. Was it playing with Boosie? Now on this song, Untouchable, Boosie says all that Mr. Two-Piece-ish is over with. And in the ad-lib, you can hear him say, laugh now. Now, if y'all want to go look that song up, y'all can, but I can't play songs on here, YouTube family. I'll show y'all the thumbnail. But the last time I played a song, they struck it down. Now, the name of the song is Untouchable, okay? And he has a line in it where he said, all of that Mr. Two-Piece shit is over with. Laugh now. Now, that would bring a deeper meaning to the chain that Little Boosie is wearing in this picture. As a matter of fact, I've been seeing Boosie wear this chain for a long time until he got the new set of jewelry. This is before he got locked up. Now, Boosie has a chain with the laugh face and the frowning face. And it says, laugh now, cry later. Now, I'm wondering if that's the reason. I don't know. We ain't gonna do too much speculation on here. Just know that Big Marquis knocked out Boosie in the club in front of everybody, you heard me. Full grill flew into the midnight air, gling. And next thing you know, he got stepped on, you heard me, ass. So y'all was, yeah, I'm trying to tell y'all was.
I told y'all niggas.
Now, I think it's important to add that Nussie wasn't a broke nigga by a long shot. In fact, he practically owned this whole block, including the club, which would jump on the weekends, man. And he even funded some of the hood movies that would get shot in Baton Rouge, in which case he'd play his small roles in them. Now, Nussie understood the importance of branding and how to get support from local radio stations and DJs. Now, people would speculate that the only reason why he had those connections was because they were fearful of him. But from my research, people in Baton Rouge genuinely got love for Nussie. He'd be immortalized through guys like Ray Vicks and Kevin Gates for years to come. I just had to speak on like his financial situation. I don't know, I felt compelled to speak on that because I know throughout this story he might kind of come off to be a hater. But I just forgot to add in there that the dude he owned his own house, he owned the club, you know, he was doing the underground music circuit, he had connections with radio and DJs and stuff, so he was making a name for himself as a rapper too. I know Boosie was a tremendous artist, still is a tremendous artist, man, in my top 5, of course, but you know, his light shined so bright in Baton Rouge at the time that a lot of people didn't get the chance to see Nussie, or a lot of people don't even know who Nussie is, so.
I ain't gonna lie, Youngboy, making that Nussie song was not my first time hearing from Nussie, but it made me want to go do the research now, and that's what brought me here today. Some things I been knew, some things I didn't know. How he was a jack boy and kicked over, definitely didn't know that. But as far as him having some money on, definitely knew that. As far as him having some influence, definitely knew that, you know.
You know, I'm just hoping I do a little justice by telling this story, but let's go ahead and dive back into it. Now, as I stated before, Nussie, even though he wasn't directly the trigger man, he would deny his involvement with the death of Ivy, but after the death of Pig and Big Marquis, man, all bets was off, man. It was no holds bars when it came down to Baton Rouge, and it was like the two were playing hide and go seek, but only this wasn't the game. And whoever seen whoever first was finna get exited out of the game eternally. Now, as I stated before, Big Marquis wasn't just a street guy. He was also one of those guys that was trying to make it out and be a rapper as well. And in fact, he still got songs on YouTube to this day. Still, even that song Two-Piece, he even remixed that song Two-Piece where he disses Boosie, is on YouTube to this day still. Now, I think it's important to expound that Boosie and Nussie really never really had an issue until the death of Ivy. And as a matter of fact, Boosie has a cousin named Trill, but you know, he refers to him as Donkey. And I don't know if y'all know, but his cousin Donkey did a full 360 turnaround all the way, gave his life to the Lord. Salute to Donkey, salute to Trill. But yeah, Trill and Nussie was like everyday best friends, man. And you know, Trill went to prison for life, but he somehow beat that and got out. So it wasn't like Nussie and Boosie actually had real internal beef. It all actually really did stem from the Ivy situation. And to make matters worse, after Ivy's passing, even before Big Marquis and Boosie had an incident in the club, it was alleged that he too had something to do with the death of Ivan. Now, y'all got to remember how I explained it and how Dana explained it earlier on in this video. They say the car got Swiss cheesed up. Now, unless Pig had a assault rifle that was automatic, ain't no way he did that by himself. That's basically why I'm hitting it. So, of course, the streets of Baton Rouge would know if it was other people involved before law enforcement would know. So apparently, they say Big Marquis was one of the guys too. So, hey, like the good books say, man, if you live by the sword, you gonna die by it, man. R.I.P. to Big Marquis. Now, although the south side of Baton Rouge found out that Nussie wasn't the trigger man and they knew that it was Pig and they got their guy, Nussie felt very disrespected because he never got an apology. This is the reason why the beef kept going on, because it could have stopped at that. But the beef kept going because Nussie felt disrespected. Yeah, Nussie wanted an apology. But to be real, the streets don't owe nobody no apologies, man. You could have just let that die down. That proved to be fatal. February 10, 2009. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. One man is injured and a local rapper is dead after a Monday night shooting. Baton Rouge police officers say that after taking the first victim to the hospital, they found Chris Nussie Jackson dead inside of a home on America Street. Now, Nussie was the owner of Club 225, and in an interview in 2006 with WAFB, Nussie told 9 News that he had served time in Paris prison for accessory to attempted murder. Monday night, Jackson was gunned down at his house in Baton Rouge. Neighbors say this is a hot zone for gunfire and drugs, and they will hear him often throughout the day. Now, this is where the details get murky. Boosie goes to prison on a gun and a possession of a controlled substance charge, and he ends up being charged with 9 murders. 9. So we only gonna speak on one. And one of those murders that they tried to say Boosie was responsible for was Nussie. Now, allegedly, because I'm not the one that called the shots for our YouTube family. I'm not the one to read the paperwork and I say it. Now, allegedly, Boosie paid a teenage boy, Michael Loudon. Matter of fact, let me just read it out the paper. Baton Rouge teen Michael Loudon has been charged with the murder of Louisiana rapper Chris Nussie Jackson and 5 other men in a series of killings dating back to February 2009. He has been charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder. We gotta do a story on Marlo Mike. 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Chris Nussie Jackson was killed from gunshot wounds to the head February 9th, 2009. Now, although he was never charged, fellow Baton Rouge rapper Lil Boosie was initially named as the primary suspect after the FBI received information that he had issued $30,000 on the hit on Jackson. The 2 rappers had been fielding prior to Jackson's murder, with Boosie recording a diss track titled What Goes Up Must Come Down. Now, Boosie at the time of this article was still facing time for that gun charge and that marijuana charge. Now, at the time, Loudon was also facing charges of murders, including Marcus Thomas, Terry Boyd, and Charles Matthews, and Daryl Milton, which would be Bleak. Daryl Milton is Bleak. That's Boosie's homeboy. So that's kind of, I don't know, man. That's a tricky story, man. Jump in the comment section if y'all want to hear the story about Bleak, man, because I always thought that was a tricky story, man. But it had been updated that Michael Loudon, a.k.a. Marlo Mike, would be tried in the first-degree murder of Chris Nussie Jackson, according to the average.
We definitely got to do the story on Marlo Mike, bro. Bro, he was only 15, gang. Hold on, gang. He was only 15. That nigga had 9 wings.
The 18-year-old was charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of second-degree murder, and 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder, man. Yeah, man, this is a crazy story. Now, as y'all all know, Michael Loudon would go recant his statement saying that Boosie was the one who sent him. But Michael Loudon got a tattoo on his stomach that says, Boosie, who's next? So, man, Boosie, bro, you better stay out your ass out the way. He really dodged the bullet, but, man, YouTube family, that was... people. Come on, YouTube.
All right, Nussie. We got the understanding of Nussie. It's more rappamentaries that can be done, bro. So just leave me some down in the comment section. If you
overseas from my iPhone, say she see me on the stage from Morocco.
Joy Rose.
Tears of joy, tears of joy.
Hey, I appreciate the resub, bro. We on a 5-month streak. Appreciate you. Hey, if you made it to this part of the video, put Mountain Dew in the comment section. This is a longer documentary. It's your boy Snore. I'm gone.